Stop scrolling.
Right now.
Because what I'm about to tell you will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about the most famous person who ever lived. Jesus Christ. The man who changed human civilization forever. The guy whose birth literally splits our calendar into before and after. We know everything about him, right? His birth, his miracles, his death, his resurrection. It's the most documented life in ancient history. Except there's a gap. A massive 18-year black hole in the middle of his story that nobody talks about. From age 12 to age 30, 18 years, Jesus of Nazareth completely vanishes from all historical records. No Gospels, no witnesses, no documentation, nothing. It's like someone took an eraser to the most important years of the most important life ever lived.
Think about that.
Your teenage years, your 20s, the years that made you who you are. All the mistakes, the growth, the transformation, the moments that defined you. Imagine if all of that just didn't exist in any record.
Gone.
Erased. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These are supposed to be complete biographies of Jesus' life. They tell us about his birth in excruciating detail. They document his ministry day by day. They describe his crucifixion minute by minute. But those 18 years? Radio silence. All four of them just skip it, like it never happened. Now, you might be thinking, okay, maybe nothing important happened. Maybe he was just a carpenter living a normal life. But that's not what the evidence shows. Because when Jesus finally does reappear at age 30, he's completely transformed. He's not just some village carpenter anymore. He's quoting ancient scriptures from memory. He's debating scholars and winning. He's performing miracles that defy explanation. He's teaching philosophy that sounds like it came from mystery schools in Egypt or monasteries in Tibet. He's speaking with an authority that makes the most powerful religious leaders of his time absolutely furious. You don't learn that from building tables. So where was he? What happened during those lost years that transformed a carpenter's son into the most influential revolutionary in human history? And here's the part that should terrify you. What if the church has known the answer this entire time and deliberately kept it hidden for 2,000 years? Because here's what they don't want you to know. In the centuries after Jesus died, there were dozens of Gospels. Not four, dozens. And many of them talked about those missing years. The Gospel of Thomas, the Infancy Gospel, the Gospel of the Nazarenes. Ancient texts describing Jesus traveling to India, studying with Buddhist monks, learning the secrets of Egyptian mystery schools, being initiated into hidden wisdom traditions. And what happened to those texts? Burned.
Buried. Banned.
Declared heretical and systematically destroyed by the church.
Why?
What was in those lost years that was so dangerous, so controversial, so world-shattering that the most powerful institution in Western civilization has spent 2 millennia making sure you never find out? That's what we're about to uncover. The lost years of Jesus. The mystery they don't want you to KW, hey, everyone. So, I need to tell you something that's been keeping me up at night. And I'm guessing once you hear this, you're gonna have the same problem. We all know the story, right? Jesus, born in Bethlehem, does some miraculous baby stuff. Then at 12 years old, he's in the temple in Jerusalem absolutely schooling the religious scholars. His parents find him, and he drops this cryptic line, "I must be about my father's business." Cool moment, right? But here's where it gets weird.
Boom.
18 years just disappear.
Gone.
Like someone took an eraser to history. The next time we see Jesus, he's 30 years old, walking out of a desert, ready to turn the world upside down. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, 4 Gospels for supposedly complete biographies, and all of them skip the most important part of his life. Now pause. Think about your life between 12 and 30. That's when you become who you are. That's high school, college, first jobs, heartbreaks, identity crises, that terrible phase where you thought that haircut looked good. We've all been there. But Jesus? Nothing. Radio silence. So before we go any further, drop a comment right now. What do you think happened? And have you ever even heard about this mystery before? Because I'm willing to bet most people haven't, alright. So here's where the story gets absolutely wild. Because while the official church line is basically he was a carpenter, don't worry about it. Historians, archaeologists, and mystics have been piecing together clues for centuries. And what they've found? It's either the greatest cover-up in history or the most incredible journey ever taken. Theory number one is straight out of an adventure novel. Picture this. A 13-year-old Jewish kid decides he's done with carpentry school. He joins a merchant caravan heading east along the Silk Road and ends up in India and Tibet, studying with Hindu priests and Buddhist monks for 15 years. Now I know what you're thinking. Come on, that sounds like fan fiction. But hold up, there's actually a document called The Life of Saint Isa, discovered in a Tibetan monastery in the 1890s that tells exactly this story. And here's the mind-blowing part. Buddha, 500 BC. Blessed are the meek. Jesus, 30 AD. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Buddha, the kingdom is within you. Jesus, the kingdom of God is within you. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe a young Jewish mystic sat under the Himalayas learning the secrets that would later change the West forever. Oh, and by the way, there's a tomb in Kashmir that locals insist contains a prophet who came from the West, performed miracles, and preached love. They call him Yezasaf. Sound familiar? The church says it's all fake. But here's what they won't tell you. Most of those Tibetan texts mysteriously vanished right around the time European missionaries started showing up in Asia. Okay, I need to know, does anyone watching right now actually believe Jesus went to India? Or is this too wild? Let me know in the comments because we're just getting started. Theory number two hits closer to home, literally. What if Jesus never left the Middle East at all? In 1947, a shepherd boy throws a rock into a cave and accidentally discovers the Dead Sea Scrolls, the library of a mysterious sect called the Essenes. These guys were like the Jedi of ancient Judaism. They lived in the desert, practiced ritual baptism, held communal meals, rejected material wealth, and were waiting for a Messiah to save Israel. Sound familiar? Because here's the kicker. John the Baptist, the guy who baptized Jesus, was almost definitely an Essene, which means Jesus probably knew about them, probably visited them, might have even lived with them during those lost years. The Essenes called themselves the Way. Early Christians also called themselves the Way. The Essenes practiced communal living. Early Christians? Check the Book of Acts. Same thing. But here's where it gets dark. The Romans destroyed the Essene community around 70 AD, wiped them out. And conveniently, most of their writings about this teacher of righteousness they were waiting for also disappeared. Makes you wonder what those texts actually said, and who needed them gone. And now for theory 3, the one that makes religious scholars really uncomfortable. What if Jesus learned magic in Egypt? Okay, I know how that sounds. But hear me out. When Jesus was a baby, his family fled to Egypt to escape King Herod. That's in the Bible. What's not in the Bible is how long they stayed. Egypt had mystery schools, secret temples where Greek philosophy mixed with Egyptian mysticism. They taught what they called Heka, the power of the divine word, the ability to speak reality into existence. Lazarus, come forth. Be healed. Rise and walk. Jesus didn't use magic wands or spell ingredients. He used words, the creative power of divine speech. And get this, archaeologists have found Egyptian magical papyri that actually invoke Jesus the Nazarene as a name of power. They're literally using his name in magic spells. The early church fathers spent centuries trying to separate Jesus from magic, insisting his miracles were divine acts, not learned techniques. But what if the truth is more complicated? What if the Son of God learned the ancient mysteries before bringing something completely new into the world? This is the moment where I want you to think. Not just react, really think. If Jesus spent years studying ancient wisdom traditions, does that make him more divine or more human? Drop your honest thoughts below. I'm genuinely curious what you believe, so we've got 3 wild theories. And I know some of you are thinking, this is all speculation. Where's the proof? Great question. Let's talk about what we do know and what was deliberately hidden. In the first few centuries after Jesus died, Christianity, was a mess. Dozens of different groups, each with their own gospels, their own stories, their own versions of who Jesus was. Then the Roman Empire gets involved, orthodoxy wins, and suddenly texts start disappearing. The Gnostic Gospels, the Gospel of Thomas, the secret Gospel of Mark, the infancy Gospels, all declared heretical, all destroyed, except they weren't all destroyed. In 1945, in the Egyptian desert, someone finds a jar buried in the sand. Inside, 13 leather-bound books that hadn't been seen in 1,600 years. The Gospel of Thomas. Jesus says, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not have that within you, what you do not have within you will kill you." That's not the Jesus of Sunday school. That's a mystic, a teacher of transformation. Someone who sounds a lot like someone who studied Eastern philosophy or mystery school wisdom. And here's what keeps me up at night. If these texts survived by accident, buried in a jar in the middle of nowhere, how many others were successfully destroyed? What else did they burn? The Library of Alexandria, the monasteries of Tibet, the secret archives of the Vatican. How many documents about Jesus's lost years are still hidden, locked away where no one can read them? But you know what? Maybe we're asking the wrong question entirely. Maybe those 18 years weren't about where Jesus went. Maybe they were about who he became. Think about it. If Jesus was truly human, not just God wearing a human costume, then those years were necessary. They were the years when he learned what hunger feels like, what it means to lose someone you love, what it's like to work until your hands bleed, what it's like to doubt, to fear, to want things you can't have. The temptation in the wilderness, Satan offering him all the kingdoms of the world. That only makes sense if Jesus actually wanted power, if he felt ambition, if he struggled with the same desires we all do. We all have our own lost years, don't we? Times in our lives where we're figuring out who we are, what we believe, what we're willing to sacrifice for. Maybe Jesus's lost years were just him being human, learning to be both divine and real at the same time. And maybe that's actually the most profound part of the story. What about you? Have you had your own lost years? A time where you had to go off the grid, figure yourself out, become who you needed to be? Share your story in the comments. I'll read them, I promise, okay? So here's where we need to talk about the elephant in the room. The official story is that Jesus spent those years as a carpenter in Nazareth, working with wood, learning a trade, living a quiet life. But here's a fact they don't emphasize. For miles from Nazareth, the Romans were rebuilding a major city called Sepphoris, a cosmopolitan hub with Greek theaters, Roman bathhouses, pagan temples, merchants from across the empire. As a builder, Jesus almost certainly worked there, which means he wasn't isolated in some tiny village. He was exposed to Greek philosophy, Roman politics, multiple religions, diverse cultures. When Jesus later tells the parable of the Good Samaritan, challenging ethnic prejudice, when he says, "Render unto Caesar," navigating imperial politics, when he speaks to foreign women, crossing boundaries of gender and ethnicity, these aren't the instincts of someone who never left home. These are the instincts of someone who saw the world, understood its systems, and chose to challenge them. Fun fact, the word we translate as carpenter in the Bible, tekton, actually means builder or craftsman. Jesus could have been working on major construction projects, not just making tables. He was basically ancient Middle Eastern construction crew, which means Jesus probably had opinions about building codes and workplace safety. You call that a foundation? That temple's gonna fall in 3 days. Wait, actually he did say that. Never mind. But jokes aside, here's what really matters. At 12, Jesus is asking questions in the temple. At 30, he's answering them with an authority that makes religious scholars furious. Somewhere in those 18 years, he went from student to master. He learned scripture so deeply, he could quote it from memory and find meanings no one else saw. He developed rhetorical skills that let him trap his opponents in their own logic. He gained insight into human nature that let him read people's hearts. And most importantly, he became willing to die for what he believed. That kind of certainty, that kind of courage, that kind of complete commitment, you don't get that from carpentry. You get that from a journey, an initiation, a transformation so complete that nothing can ever shake you again. So, where did that transformation happen? India? Egypt? The desert? Maybe all three. Maybe none of them. But here's what we know for certain. When Jesus emerges from those lost years and walks into the wilderness for 40 days, something has already changed. He's not preparing to become something. He's preparing to reveal what he's already become. At his baptism, a voice from heaven says, "This is my beloved Son." But that's not the beginning of his divine identity. That's the confirmation of a journey that's already complete. For 2,000 years, we've been told those 18 years don't matter, that nothing important happened, that we know everything we need to know. But what if the opposite is true? What if those years were so important, so transformative, so revealing about who Jesus really was, that someone decided we could never know the truth? Because here's the thing about secrets. They're only kept when the truth is dangerous. And this secret, this 18-year gap in the most documented life in history, it might be the most dangerous truth ever hidden. Now, if you made it this far in the video, that means something inside you just shifted. You're starting to see the cracks in the official story. You're realizing that maybe, just maybe, we've been told a carefully edited version of history. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So here's what I need you to do. First, if this video challenged something you thought you knew, if it made you question the narrative you've been fed your entire life, hit that like button. Because YouTube's algorithm needs to know that people are hungry for these hidden truths. The more likes this gets, the more people will see it, and the more we can pull back the curtain on 2,000 years of suppressed history. Second, and this is crucial, subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications. Not just some, all of them. Because this isn't just one video. This is the beginning of something bigger. We're going to keep digging into the mysteries they don't want you to know about. The secret teachings, the hidden texts, the archaeological discoveries that contradict official church doctrine, the ancient wisdom traditions that Christianity absorbed and then pretended never existed. Every single week, we're bringing you content that the establishment would rather stay buried. But here's the thing, we can't do this without you. YouTube suppresses controversial content like this. They bury it in the algorithm. They demonetize videos that challenge powerful institutions. The only way this gets seen is if people like you share it, engage with it, and tell YouTube that this matters. So third, go to the comment section right now. Don't wait until the end of the video.
Do it now.
And I want you to answer this question. Are you more interested in where Jesus went during those lost years, or who he became? Because that's the real question, isn't it? Is the location more important than the transformation? Drop your answer below. And while you're there, share your story. Have you had your own